Young man, there is a truth waiting for you that few are willing to hear. The world does not become easier because you wish it to. The burden does not grow lighter because you complain of its weight. And the distance between who you are and who you could become is crossed only by effort that no one can perform on your behalf. Many spend their lives searching for a door that requires no sacrifice. They search for a road without hardship. They search for success without discipline. They search for confidence without struggle. And because such roads do not exist, they spend their years wandering in circles, wondering why life has denied them the greatness they imagined. But life has denied them nothing. Life simply demanded a price they refused to pay. I have learned that a man is not measured by the comfort he enjoys during peaceful seasons. He is measured by the character he displays when the storms arrive, when circumstances turn against him, when the crowd abandons him, when doubt enters his mind and fear sits beside him like an unwelcome companion. These are the moments that reveal who he truly is. You live in an age filled with noise. Every hour brings another distraction. Every day offers another excuse. Your attention is traded like a commodity. Your focus is hunted by those who profit from your confusion. And many young men have become strangers to their own potential. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack intelligence, but because they have forgotten how to stand still long enough to hear the voice of responsibility calling their name. The greatest danger before you is not failure. Failure can teach. Failure can strengthen. Failure can humble a proud man and prepare him for wisdom. The greatest danger is drifting, to wake each morning without purpose, to move through years without direction, to spend your strongest days pursuing things that will not matter when your hair turns gray and your steps become slow. A man who loses a battle may fight again. A man who loses his fortune may rebuild. A man who loses an election may still serve a worthy cause. But a man who loses his purpose risks losing himself. That is why you must ask a question that many avoid. What kind of man are you becoming? Not what are you buying? Not what are you posting? Not what are others saying about you? What kind of man are you becoming when nobody is watching? For destiny is not shaped in moments of applause. It is shaped in private hours. It is shaped when temptation whispers. It is shaped when fatigue arrives. It is shaped when every excuse appears reasonable, yet you choose duty anyway. That choice, repeated often enough, becomes character. And character, more than talent, more than luck, more than circumstance, determines the course of a life. The lesson begins there. Not with the world, not with others, but with the man you see when you stand alone before your own conscience. And once that lesson is learned, everything changes. Once a man begins to examine himself honestly, he discovers something that may trouble him. He discovers that many of his limitations were not placed there by fate. They were placed there by fear. Fear has defeated more dreams than failure ever could. It persuades a man to remain where he is. It convinces him that safety is wisdom. It teaches him to mistake hesitation for caution and comfort for peace. Yet history has never been shaped by those who worship comfort. The great builders, leaders, inventors, and reformers all shared a common burden. They walked forward while uncertainty surrounded them. They acted before guarantees were offered. They moved despite doubt. Young man, there will never come a day when fear completely leaves you. The goal is not to destroy fear. The goal is to become greater than it. Courage is often misunderstood. Many imagine courage as the absence of trembling. They imagine a fearless warrior riding into battle without concern. But true courage is something far more practical and far more noble. True courage is carrying your fear with you and continuing anyway. It is speaking when silence would be easier. It is standing when retreat would be welcomed. It is remaining faithful to your principles when abandoning them would bring immediate reward. The world rarely notices these battles. Yet they are among the most important battles a man will ever fight. I have observed that many young men wait for confidence before taking action. They tell themselves they will begin once they feel ready. They will lead once certainty arrives. They will pursue their purpose once doubt disappears. But confidence is not the beginning of action. Confidence is often the result of action. The blacksmith does not become skilled before touching the hammer. The farmer does not become experienced before planting the seed. The leader does not become wise before making difficult decisions. They become capable by entering the struggle. Strength is not inherited from comfort. Strength is earned through resistance. The oak tree grows mighty because it withstands storms. The river carves stone because it continues flowing. The human spirit develops in much the same way. Every hardship carries a hidden invitation, an invitation to become more patient, more disciplined, more resilient, more capable. Most people focus only on what adversity takes from them. Few recognize what adversity offers them. There are lessons that prosperity cannot teach. There are virtues that ease cannot produce. There is wisdom that arrives only after disappointment has sat at your table and remained longer than expected. Do not curse every obstacle. Examine it. Within many difficulties lies the very training required for your future. The challenge before you today may be preparing you for a responsibility you cannot yet see. That is why despair is such a dangerous companion. Despair narrows your vision. It convinces you that the present moment is the entire story. But no man can read the final chapter while standing in the middle of the book. The struggle you face today is not necessarily evidence that you are lost. It may be evidence that you are being formed. The iron does not become steel without fire. The stone does not become a monument without pressure. And character does not become unshakable without adversity. One day, if you endure, you may look back upon the very hardships you once wished away and recognize them as turning points. You may discover that the pain you resisted became the source of your strength. You may discover that the obstacle became the path. And when that realization arrives, you will understand a truth that changes everything. Life does not ask whether you prefer hardship. Life asks what you will become because of it. That question leads us to an even greater lesson. For strength alone is not enough. A man may possess strength and still fail if he lacks character. And character is built one choice at a time. Character is not built in a single dramatic moment. It is built quietly. It grows in the unseen places of life, where no audience gathers and no applause is heard. The world often celebrates achievement. It celebrates victory, wealth, influence, and recognition. Yet behind every lasting achievement stands something far less visible: discipline. Without discipline, talent wanders. Without discipline, ambition weakens. Without discipline, even the finest intentions eventually collapse beneath the weight of inconsistency. Many young men spend their energy searching for motivation. They wait for inspiration to arrive like a visitor at their doorstep. When enthusiasm appears, they work. When enthusiasm fades, they stop. As a result, their progress rises and falls with their emotions. But a life governed by emotion is a life surrendered to circumstance. Discipline teaches a different lesson. It teaches a man to act because something is right, not because it is easy. It teaches him to continue because the task deserves completion, not because the moment feels pleasant. There will be mornings when your spirit is willing and mornings when it is not. There will be days when the path ahead appears bright, and days when it appears hidden by fog. The disciplined man continues regardless. He understands that excellence is not the result of occasional effort. It is the result of repeated effort. The bridge is built one stone at a time. The field is cultivated one season at a time. The worthy life is constructed in much the same way. Small actions, faithfully repeated, eventually become extraordinary results. Never underestimate the power of daily conduct. A man does not suddenly become trustworthy. He becomes trustworthy by telling the truth when lies would be easier. He does not suddenly become responsible. He becomes responsible by honoring obligations others might ignore. He does not suddenly become respected. He becomes respected by consistently doing what he said he would do. Character is reputation with yourself. It is the private knowledge of whether your actions match your values. There is a judge who follows every man throughout his life. It is not the crowd. It is not society. It is not even history. It is his own conscience. A man may deceive others for a season. He may impress strangers. He may construct an image that appears admirable from a distance. But he cannot escape the knowledge of who he truly is. The strongest foundation in life is the ability to look at oneself honestly and find no deliberate betrayal of principle. Responsibility is another word often misunderstood. Many treat it as a burden. They imagine it as a weight that limits freedom. Yet responsibility is not the enemy of freedom. It is the source of meaningful freedom. The man who refuses responsibility becomes dependent upon circumstances. The man who accepts responsibility gains influence over his future. When something goes wrong, the irresponsible man searches for someone to blame. The responsible man searches for something he can improve. One remains trapped. The other grows. This is why maturity begins the moment excuses end. Every excuse offers temporary comfort. Every excuse also steals a portion of personal power. The more excuses a man collects, the weaker he becomes. The more responsibility he accepts, the stronger he becomes. And then there is self-mastery. Perhaps the greatest victory available to any human being. To govern a nation is difficult. To lead an organization is challenging. To influence thousands is impressive. Yet many who have accomplished these things have remained slaves to their own impulses. The hardest leadership assignment a man will ever receive is leadership over himself. Can he control his temper when anger demands expression? Can he remain patient when frustration seeks control? Can he remain focused when distraction offers immediate pleasure? Can he remain faithful to his values when compromise promises convenience? These questions determine far more than intelligence ever will. For talent may open a door. Character determines whether a man deserves to remain inside. And when discipline, responsibility, and self-mastery begin working together, something remarkable happens. The young man who once drifted through life starts becoming dependable. The uncertain man becomes steady. The fearful man becomes courageous. The ordinary man begins laying the foundation for an extraordinary future. Yet character alone is not the final destination. It is preparation. Because every strong character eventually faces a larger question. What purpose will guide that strength? And what mission is worthy of a lifetime's devotion? A man can possess discipline and still feel empty. He can possess skill and still feel lost. He can accumulate success and still wonder why fulfillment remains beyond his reach. This is because strength by itself is not a destination. Strength is a tool. The greater question is where that tool will be directed. Many young men spend years chasing achievements without first determining the purpose behind them. They pursue titles, possessions, and recognition, believing that fulfillment waits at the finish line. Yet, when they arrive, they often discover something unexpected. The finish line moved. The satisfaction they imagined was temporary. The applause faded. The excitement passed. And once again, they found themselves searching. The problem was never the achievement. The problem was the absence of purpose. Purpose gives meaning to effort. Purpose transforms sacrifice into investment. Purpose allows a man to endure difficulties that would otherwise seem unbearable. When a man knows why he is walking, he can survive roads that others abandon. History remembers individuals who endured extraordinary hardship, not because hardship itself was noble, but because they attached themselves to something greater than personal comfort. They served a cause. They carried a responsibility. They devoted themselves to a vision larger than their immediate desires. That is the difference between existing and truly living. The world will constantly tempt you to make yourself the center of every decision. It will encourage you to ask, what brings pleasure? What brings convenience? What brings advantage? But purpose asks a different question. It asks what is worth giving yourself to. What is worth your energy? What is worth your sacrifice? What is worth your years? A life devoted entirely to self-interest eventually becomes small. A life devoted to meaningful contribution becomes expansive. The farmer who feeds a community. The teacher who shapes future generations. The craftsman who takes pride in excellence. The parent who raises children with integrity. The citizen who strengthens the place he calls home. These lives may never dominate headlines, yet they possess a greatness that cannot be measured by fame. For true greatness is not determined by how many people know your name. It is determined by how many lives are better because you lived. Young man, do not underestimate the value of long-term thinking. One of the most costly mistakes of youth is sacrificing tomorrow for the comfort of today. The temptation is everywhere. Immediate pleasure, immediate validation, immediate reward. Yet nearly everything worthwhile requires patience. The strongest trees grow slowly. The deepest foundations take time. The most respected reputations are built over years, not days. Patience is not passive. Patience is disciplined persistence. It is the ability to continue investing effort long before visible results appear. Many people quit because they judge the future through the lens of the present. They see little progress and assume none is occurring. But growth often happens beneath the surface, before it becomes visible above it. The seed spends time underground before anyone sees evidence of life. The builder spends months laying foundations before a structure rises. The same is true for character, skill, wisdom, and success. Trust the process of steady improvement. Trust the value of consistent effort. Trust that meaningful progress rarely announces itself with fanfare. And never compare your journey too closely to another man's path. Comparison is a thief that robs countless people of peace. Every individual carries different burdens, faces different challenges, receives different opportunities. Your task is not to become someone else. Your task is to become the highest version of yourself. The question is not whether another man is ahead. The question is whether you are advancing, whether you are learning, whether you are growing, whether you are becoming more capable than you were yesterday. That is a contest worth entering. And if you remain faithful to that pursuit, year after year, something extraordinary begins to happen. The distance between who you are and who you were grows larger. Your confidence deepens. Your purpose sharpens. Your influence expands. Not because fortune suddenly favored you, but because you became the kind of man capable of carrying greater responsibility. And that is the path upon which ordinary people slowly become extraordinary. Yet, before our journey ends, there remains one final lesson. Perhaps the most important lesson of all. For there will come a day when every man must decide what legacy he intends to leave behind. There comes a moment in every man's life when the future no longer feels endless. The years that once appeared distant begin to draw nearer. The seasons pass more quickly. The opportunities become more precious. And a question emerges from the depths of the soul. What will remain when I am gone? Few questions carry greater weight. For in the end, every title is surrendered. Every possession is left behind. Every applause eventually fades into silence. The world remembers very little of what a man owned. It remembers far more about who he was. It remembers whether he stood firm when standing firm was difficult. It remembers whether he spoke truth when falsehood was profitable. It remembers whether he used his strength to serve or merely to elevate himself. The measure of a life is not found in what it gathers. The measure of life is found in what it gives. Young man, there will always be reasons to compromise. There will always be voices encouraging the easier path. There will always be moments when integrity appears expensive. You may be tempted to believe that character is negotiable, that principles are flexible, that values can be postponed until a more convenient season. Do not believe it. Every compromise leaves a mark. Every decision shapes identity. Every action becomes part of the story you are writing with your life. The story is being written now, not someday. Not after success arrives, not after circumstances improve. Now, in the choices you make today, in the habits you practice today, in the standards you uphold today. A meaningful life is rarely created through a single heroic act. More often, it is created through thousands of ordinary decisions, made with extraordinary consistency. Choose honesty when deception seems easier. Choose responsibility when excuses seem attractive. Choose discipline when comfort calls your name. Choose courage when fear urges retreat. These choices may appear small in the moment, yet they determine the direction of an entire life. There will be setbacks. There will be disappointments. There will be seasons when your efforts appear unnoticed. Continue anyway. The farmer does not abandon the field because growth is invisible for a season. The sailor does not abandon the voyage because the storm obscures the horizon. The determined man does not abandon his purpose because progress arrives slowly. Persistence possesses a quiet power that many underestimate. Time eventually rewards those who refuse to quit. And even when the world fails to recognize your efforts, something valuable is happening. You are becoming stronger, wiser, more capable, more prepared. Life is not merely testing you. It is shaping you. The difficulties you endure today may become the wisdom you offer tomorrow. The struggles you survive may become the encouragement another person desperately needs. The example you set may inspire people you never meet. Never underestimate the influence of a well-lived life. A single individual of strong character can alter a family. A family can strengthen a community. A community can shape a nation. Great change often begins with one person deciding to live according to principle. Perhaps that person is you. Perhaps the responsibility belongs to your generation. Perhaps the future is waiting for young men willing to reject cynicism, embrace responsibility, and pursue excellence with humility. The world does not need more spectators. It needs builders. It does not need more complainers. It needs contributors. It does not need more people searching for shortcuts. It needs people willing to walk the long road with honor. So stand up. Stand up when life becomes difficult. Stand up when others surrender. Stand up when doubt whispers that your efforts are meaningless. Stand up and continue. Not because success is guaranteed, not because the road is easy, but because becoming a man of character is a goal worthy of your life. Years from now, When you look back upon the path you traveled, may you find no regret for courage left unused. May you find no sorrow for opportunities abandoned through fear. May you find satisfaction in knowing that you gave your best effort to a worthy purpose. And may you discover that the greatest victory was never over another person. It was over the weaker version of yourself. For the highest achievement available to any man is this: to leave the world stronger than he found it, to live with integrity, to serve with purpose, to endure with courage, to lead by example, and to become, through years of faithful effort, the kind of man whose character remains long after his footsteps disappear. That is the path to greatness. That is the path to fulfillment. That is the path worthy of a lifetime. The choice is yours.